I don't even think we mentioned specifically, Nicolas Cage changed his name because he is the nephew of the Godfather director Francis Ford Coppola, and changed it to avoid nepotism, obviously, which I feel like we've been seeing less of lately. I feel like a lot of people have been keeping at least one of their famous parents' names and just riding that high.
Yeah, hell yeah. Welcome to Camp Counselors, a more butter show where we discuss, debate, and inform each other about the best and worst campy movies out there. I am your host, Mista GG, and I am joined today by somebody, and that is...
Amanda, the Jedi.
Yeah, all right. Not rocking solo this episode. We're very excited to come back. What's with the thumb? I just noticed that.
Okay, it's like 2 weeks ago. I had a hangnail type thing, and I just like pull it, go about my business, get him all the time, dry hands, whatever. And then it just doesn't heal for like over 2 weeks, and it's just getting like more red. And then eventually, like I started soaking it in like water and like salt water, and then it just like was not getting better. So I had to I have antibiotic ointment now, so it should be good, but I just keep this on so it doesn't whack into things because it hurts like a bitch if anything touches it. And then also just to make sure that like the ointment stays there and nothing else gets mingled in. Okay. I think it's doing better, but this is like day 3 of ointment. So we're hoping for the best. I'm hoping I don't lose the thumb.
When you ripped the hangnail, did that hurt initially? Or was it just like a casual?
This was like, it like bled a bit when it happened. It was like a fairly like, it wasn't just like a little piece of skin go on your business. Like it was like it got in there a little bit deeper. Okay. And then I went to Universal. So what I think happened is like some gunk from some Universal gunk, even though I was hand sanitizing. It just takes one wrong touch something, some kid with his finger up his nose. Just all it takes is just one thing. And then infection.
One swipe, you were fucked.
One swipe, and I was done.
Right, well, we're all hoping for a fast healing process from
Thank you.
Everybody at the Camp Counselors community. Trust me.
How
Guys,
you doing?
comment below. Say nice things.
Please,
I'm doing today. Today sucks. Today has been very busy. Today has been very just.
I get it.
I don't know. Like I know you travel for work, right? I've traveled recently for pleasure. And I got tired out of airplanes quick. I was like, this sucks. I hate the airport. I hate airplanes. And when I come back, it's like I'm so just I fall into a pit of work. And it's like you're catching up to everything. And it's like, how the fuck did my work triple when I left? Even though normally like I would take off a weekend anyways, because I try not to work on weekends unless I have to. Yeah. So... I mean, props to you for traveling. I know you're working when you fucking do it, but just traveling in general, including that in the schedule of all this, I don't know how you do it.
Like sometimes I'm like really well prepared. Like I said, this year I started getting some like editing help. So like Brody came in clutch a lot in February. Just lately, he's been working on a big project, and it's like new movies that he doesn't want to help with until he watches them sometimes. But he's working on a big project right now. Yeah. But it gets rough. But at the same time, if I'm here too much, I get really unhappy too. So it's like I feel like I can't win. I don't know. But yeah, I got back from my last trip. And I just spent like an entire week at my parents', just for the way it worked out. I ended up flying out of my hometown instead of where I live. So then when I got back, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just spend the night and leave the next day. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna stay here for a week because there's like a bunch of random shit going on. Like this happened. Like my grandparents got COVID. They've avoided it, so it was a little shaky there with my grandmother for a bit. And I was just like, no, I don't want to engage. But yeah, travel can be rough. I get it. And then you're just constantly playing catch up, and everyone's all like, oh, can you do this little thing? And all that piles up.
Yeah.
Fast.
No matter how much you're like pushing it off and you're like, I'll take care of that when I get back. That's no fucking issue. You know, you're responding to the text on vacay. You're like, whatever.
Yeah, I got
and
it.
Then you get back and you're like, oh no.
The consequences.
Everything, dude.
Yeah, the consequences.
It's like, what's that? The IRS wants my head on a fucking spike? Okay, give me a sec.
That's what I was dealing with last week. I was like, I'm not going anywhere until these numbers are input and it's off with the accountant now.
I hate it so fucking much. And then even the flight back too, I was late. LAX can eat a dick. Why anyone flies out of that airport willingly is sad to me. I couldn't check bags. I ditched everything. I left it there because otherwise I wasn't going to make my flight.
Oh, shit. That's wild.
That was exciting. Yeah, so.
That sucks. I try never to check a bag in my life. Like, I travel carry on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as much as possible.
That's definitely the move, and I definitely fucked up on that, so that's my bad. I'll eat that out. It's all good. We're here with camp counselors, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
What I need to really bring peace to my day.
Yeah, of course.
So, today, what are we talking about, Amanda?
We're talking about the enigmatic life and career of Nicolas Cage. He's recently had a movie come out called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I have a video up on my channel if you want to check it out separately. But it's essentially a movie starring Nick Cage, about Nick Cage, but also not really. It's like a fictionalized Nick Cage while still being Nick Cage type thing. It should have been amazing. I thought some of it was amazing and some of it was just okay, but people are really enjoying it, so... Yeah, we thought we'd look into why people would deem this one actor worthy of this type of honor.
Okay. Well, that's... Okay, yeah, I saw previews for that movie, and I didn't know what the hell to think about it. I didn't really know what it was, really.
Yeah.
So...
That's what it is. It's basically like you got Nick Cage and it is him. Like it starts with a clip from Con Air because somebody's watching Con Air and people know about Face Off and National Treasure. And he's like auditioning for a movie from the director that directed the movie he was in called Joe, and all this other stuff is mentioned, Gone in 60 Seconds. So like it is him. But then he's got like a fake wife, a daughter that he does not have. He is still dealing with debt issues, but just in like a very different way than how he dealt with debt issues in real life. It's like the wacky Nick Cage over the top from his movies, not necessarily like what Nick Cage would act like in his free time. And then you've got like Pedro Pascal, not playing Pedro Pascal, playing an actual character who's this Nick Cage uber fan. Yeah, like everybody else in the movie, except that director he's auditioning for, is a character. They're playing a character. They're not playing who they are in real life or like an exaggerated version of who they are in real life. They are characters in this movie. So it's one of my friends who saw it described it as like a Family Guy skit, but like extended into a full movie, kind of. And that's probably the best way to describe it. Like those animated adult shows that are like, yeah, this is some stuff that's true about this actor, but we're just going to make it a meme.
That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Yeah, a lot of it's fun. I think that they were just really hell-bent on adding in like this like plot aspect that wasn't good. It was like really basic, really... I just feel like Nick Cage deserved better, honestly, with someone who's had such a crazy career of what his like action movies have been and like what some of like his more character-driven movies have been. Even the bad movies have done a little bit more in that regard here, but like the buddy aspect between him and Pedro, fantastic, so good. And if it was just all more of that, kind of like a Superbad, but with Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal, I would have been way more on board with this than what I was by like the end. But it's definitely worth the watch. People are really loving it. Yeah, it's fun.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to hear more about that, go watch the video on Amanda's channel. Thank you very much, Amanda the Jedi. Go look it up.
Thank you.
This would be the second time we spend an episode talking about somebody specific on Camp Counselors, I believe. The first time was Steven Seagal. Now it's Nicolas Cage. Not the same people at all. And not even held up in the same type of light. One of them is terrible. The other one is pretty much universally loved, I would say. Does Nick Cage get any flack on anything?
Not anymore. Like, I feel like for a while he was in so many shitty B movies, which we'll get into why that was for a while, or just like direct-to-video movies, that he got like a really bad reputation. Like there was that College Humor skit from back in the day where it's like Nick Cage's agent, where he's just calling him being like, Nick, you got to be more selective with your movies here, man. People are starting to judge you. Like, you got this one. It's literally just like Schindler's List with a different name. And he's like, I'm in. And then it just kind of keeps going and getting more and more ridiculous until he just like makes up this ridiculous one about hunting dolphins and sleeping with dogs. And then he's like, you can't be in it, Nick, because it doesn't fucking exist. And then he's like, we'll just get Bruckheimer on the phone. And it's just like, it's actually a really good skit. I would recommend people going to watch it. But like, he has that kind of reputation so that it turned into a meme. But then, as has been the case with like modern internet culture, if you get turned into a meme, people love you. You know? And that's kind of what's happened with Nick Cage. And then he's been in some like actual really good movies the past few years. And then some like ridiculous ones that people are seeing but still appreciate. So I think he's almost kind of hitting like a Keanu Reeves area where it's a little bit more wacky but less wholesome. But like people still have that like feeling of affection towards him.
Yeah, because I kind of feel the same way. I kind of noticed when not when meme culture was so high or whatever the fuck. Like when Nick was going in these random ass movies, from what I would hear from people that I knew, it's just like, man, that dude fell off. Like, what's he doing? He's just going in all these garbage now. And it's like Nicolas Cage took a turn. And it was weird for me because I have this weird nostalgia with Nicolas Cage because a lot of popular movies of his were played in my household and loved by my family. Like Face Off was like a big one that they really loved. And Gone in 60 Seconds too. I never really got into that. I was never really into cars in general. And I knew that played a big part in it. So I was always like, nah, I don't really care about it too much. But I'll watch it. And it's just this weird thing where like, this guy's a legendary actor. You know, that's the impression I had of Nicolas Cage growing up. It's like, this is the fucking guy, you know, and then I watched National Treasure and I was like, yo, this is fucking sick. Declaration of Independence. This guy's nuts. And then from there, it's like, what, like Ghost Rider? Was Ghost Rider before or after National Treasure?
Oh, shit. It would have been right after. I know, yeah, it would have had to have been like, I
feel like it was in a
not
very
long, like
time
2007. And I feel like National Treasure was like 05. So, yeah. And I feel like it was around Ghost Rider that his reputation started going down a bit. It was like he'd been doing some really bad movies in there. And then National Treasure kind of like pulled him out of, not a pit, but out of like, he got the youth, you know, he got the youth with National Treasure. And I didn't hate Ghost Rider when it came out, actually. I was like pretty stoked on it and I thought it was fun. And I feel like a lot of people did, but then it's like you start growing up and everyone's all like, no, that movie's ass. And it's like, well, to you, but
you just don't know.
You just don't get it. But yeah, then there's just like so many other random ones in between. And I feel like it doesn't actually seem like that many years, but I guess he had just been kind of building this bad reputation after National Treasure and like with Ghost Rider sprinkled in. So like the 5-year period, I feel like he didn't have the best reputation. And then he was in Kick-Ass, like as Big Daddy. And everybody really liked him in that. Everyone was like, oh, this is a perfect role for Nick Cage, blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember if he was like getting heavily shit on before that, or if it was like kind of after that movie came out that reputation started like going down a bit before it kind of spun back up in the last handful of years.
Would you say, I'm just curious, would you say kind of like for the majority of people, do you think when they look at actors and look at their body of work, do you think they really kind of stick more on the side of you're only as good as the last movie you came out in? Or do you think they're more just, I mean, this is the guy. It's one movie. It's one stinker, whatever.
I think it's like a 2 in a row thing almost. I think if you got one stinker, you can maybe, depending on how bad it was, you can kind of turn it around. It might hurt you a little bit in the short term if it like really messes with like public perception of you. And then you're good. But then if you have like 2 really bad movies in a row, I think that maybe is more when people start being like, and with him, it wasn't just that they were bad. There was a bunch of just like direct to video. And that was like before streaming was really a thing. So like nowadays you get something that goes direct streaming. Nobody's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's fucking garbage. Like, you know, unless it's like a Marvel movie. And for some reason, they're just like, yeah, we just want to put that on. But nobody goes out of their way to think that that's like a horrible thing anymore, especially with the last couple of years. But like back then, if you had like direct to DVD, direct to video movies, that was like, ugh.
Yeah, that was rough.
That's really rough. So I think people kind of started noticing that. And I think it was like the sheer volume of them. He was doing like, 4 to 6 movies a year, which is absurd.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But do you feel like even with that, I mean, obviously we've seen it with Nick Cage, but even when you're dropping stinkers, let's say left and right, or just straight to DVD movies.
But if you have like one really good one, can it like redeem it?
I was going to say, you read my mind. Are you redeemable always as an actor?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I actually think you are, because I feel like critics probably still weren't necessarily on Nick Cage's side, or like widely. Mm-hmm. And then Pig came out this past year. And that was one of the ones that everyone was like, this is like the biggest Oscar snub that we've had since Uncut Gems. And like, this is massive. This is egregious, And I feel like people have really flipped on their perception there of him just because of like a handful of roles like that. So I really do think that like one good role can like save your career. And it's why people usually like to try to end on a highlight.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go out on their worst project. So they try to go out on like their best project, which is kind of hard, because then if you have like something really good, you're like, should take advantage of this. But it's a tough life. It's tough.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine having like literally one of the biggest movies of all time. It's like, well, I'm never gonna top that. What now? Did I just coast?
Yeah, do you coast? Do you just? I know a lot of people, they do like their big budget Marvel movies so that they can afford to do their like character driven dramas. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing. Like you do a handful of Marvel video movies, then you're fucking good. You're set. You're in Hollywood. You're good to go. But yeah, if you just kind of like really knock it out of the park, where you get something that's like commercially loved and like where just people really respect, and they respect you specifically in that role, like I don't know. That's rough. Clearly not a problem that Nicolas Cage has, though.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. How old is he now? He's what?
He's like 50-something, 58, 50. Yeah, he'd be 58.
58. He's a young
Am I crazy? Man. 56. 56?
I was going to try and do the math, and I'll be honest.
I'm going to feel really bad. He was born the same year as my parents. 58. I was right. Okay. I'm like, oh, well, they're my parents. Yeah, 58. So he's getting up there, but he's still doing good. But do you know why he was in so many horrible movies, or just
No, I was going to ask you that. I literally have no fucking clue why. Why? What happened?
Massive amounts of fucking debt.
Oh, my man, old money.
Dude just starts spending money like crazy, but I think specifically it wasn't just that he got rid of it all. It's just he says his accountant kind of fucked him over, and he ended up owing the IRS like a ton of money, like to the point that he just moved to Las Vegas so that as he's paying off what he owes, he's not accruing any more income tax, because Las Vegas or Nevada is a state where there is no income tax. So, and I guess he's still there. He's grown to love it, but at the time it was out of necessity for the lack of taxes. So he has bought some pretty crazy things. What are some of the crazy things you think he bought?
I mean, I don't know. What do you do when you just have millions of dollars and you don't give a fuck about anything?
That's the thing.
And you're just Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he's an eccentric dude. He's an eccentric dude. When you listen to why he spent some of the money he spent, because you look at the list and you're like, none of this makes sense. But then he explains it. I'm like, that's still wild, but I get it. Mm-hmm. So at one point, he had a 2-headed snake. He spent a lot on it, apparently. A lot. But he ended up giving it to a zoo, like a snake with 2 heads that had to be fed separately.
Okay, so do you think it's a thing where Nicolas Cage is sitting in his house and he's like, it'd be fucking sick to buy? Or do you think he's just traveling?
People come to him.
So they understand.
I think some of it is probably like, I know a lot of the things he ends up buying is like, I might do this thing one day, so I should own this in preparation for that. Mm-hmm. Like he bought a haunted house in Louisiana or New Orleans. I know it's the same place, but like I think also like in New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah. And it was because he thought it would be a really good place to write like a great American like horror novel. So he's just someday, I don't know if he still owns it, but that's why he got it. So I guess like people have stopped coming into him with things because he'll just get it. Because like the 2-headed snake story, you will not remotely begin to expect where that story would go. He said he had a dream of seeing a two-headed eagle. And then 2 days later, or like a couple days later, his manager came to him, or his agent came to him and was like, we got a two-headed snake. Would you like the two-headed snake? And he was like, well, yes, I just had a dream about two-headed eagles. So obviously I want the two-headed snake. And he used to have to like put a spatula in between the heads to feed them because one was like more aggressive. They're trying to eat each other's food? Yeah, like one of them would like beat up the other one. So he ended up donating it to a zoo because it was just too much effort to take care of. And it lived for 14 more years, apparently.
Nice. All thanks to Nick Cage. So it's a
all thanks to Nick Cage.
A thing where like his agent probably knows like this guy likes fucking weird shit. Hey, guess what? This is on the market. You wanna fucking buy it? Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like some of it he probably finds himself just out of sheer interest, and then a lot of it is like somebody must have come to you with this. Because he had a pet octopus at one point, apparently. He currently has a pet crow. He has a little suit, apparently. I couldn't quite tell if that's just the way it looks or if they got a suit made for the crow. I couldn't tell based on
I'm going to go with the suit regardless of what the truth is. I want to believe he has a suit for the crow. That's so cute. Absolutely.
He has like a pyramid-shaped burial tomb that's like 9 feet tall.
That
on top of...
That he wants to be buried in?
Yeah, it's his tomb. It's going to be his like final resting place.
A nice little pyramid tomb. That's nice.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
How do these things get out? Like, is he open about this? Is there someone else spilling the tea?
I think some of it's public record. Like the properties he owns. Like at one point, I don't know if he still does. Like 15 different properties, including like 2 European castles, an island in the Bahamas. There is some conflicting information on how many islands he might own or has owned. Some yachts. So that's like where most of the money's going, and all that stuff would have to be like public record because like it would be property, so it's like pretty public. But I think he's pretty open about it too. And then some of them make the news because he had to give them back to government. So he bought a dinosaur skull.
That's what's up.
At an auction. He beat Leonardo DiCaprio out on the bid. That's the fun fact.
I would brag about that for life.
Yeah, because apparently, like, Leonardo DiCaprio has this, like, huge collection of dinosaur fossils to the point that, like, scientists are like...
Give it back?
Yeah, he's bad for science. Yeah, exactly. But apparently, even though the auction was legit, at a legit auction house in LA, I'm pretty sure, whoever supplied it was apparently, like, a black market just dealer, and he had stolen it from Mongolia. So Nick Cage had to give it back to the Mongolian government, and he's still like, so I feel like I should have gotten my money back and didn't. So there's some beef with Nick Cage in this
Mongolia
dealing house. Yeah, not Mongolia. He's fine with them. It's the auction house.
Oh, the place where you got it from. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you're describing all this shit, all I kept thinking about was black market and like dark web and shit. So that's.
And I assume some of them must be. And I'm not trying to dominate this. It's just because I literally just finished editing that video today. So I'm like steeped in the Nick Cage. But because of all of this like crazy stuff that he's bought and weird stuff that he's done with all of this stuff, it just led to him having to work a shit ton to pay off debts and just kind of like recoup money because he has a kid, and like actually now he has a 3rd kid on the way, but like at the time he had a son and another son who's 16 now. Got to provide for the family.
Is there any timeline to where like, okay, I had to do 3 years of bad movies and then I was back on it? Okay,
it was like 10 years though. It was like 10 years.
Oh shit!
Yeah, if you look at his like filmography, it is like 10 solid years of him making at least 4 movies a year. And I think some of that is like I think he really loves what he does, and he's always trying to like do something new with film and stuff. But a lot of it is definitely necessity. And he did turn down a lot of movies because obviously I feel like when you do that many, people just start coming to you being like, well, he's never gonna say no.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when he was still making like good movies, he was doing a ton. I'm assuming some of them were like smaller roles though. But I don't know if there's a year that Nick Cage has done less than 3 movies.
So he always still carried that star power, basically, even if he was doing these trash movies.
Yeah. So looking at it, it really looks like it was probably around like the mid 2000s when it first started kind of going down a little bit, because it was after Sorcerer's Apprentice, where it's just like 2011, he did like 5 movies, and then it's just every year there's just tons of movies, and some of them are good and some of them are horrible. A bunch of them are direct to video. 2018, he did 3 direct to. Wow. Okay, 2019 was really bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 direct to video movies.
Jeez.
But he says he's good now. I'm pretty sure I read that like anything he does from now on, I think, is officially like good, and he doesn't owe anymore. He's good with the IRS, which I kind of assumed, because he's been doing more like smaller projects that aren't just like cash grabs, like more just, you could tell like whoever's making them actually cares about what they're doing. But he's still going to be in 4 movies this year, so man's crushing it.
Man, shout out the IRS.
The fucking IRS. CRA in Canada.
Is that accountant in jail? You know?
I don't think so. Probably not. I feel like in many of these situations, like it's pretty common for like actors and musicians and stuff to get just completely fucked by their accountants or whoever's supposed to be watching their money, and they've always managed to work something into a loophole. He could also be lying. Nick Cage could be lying. His accountant could have been like, "Please, Nicholas, please." Mr. Cage. Mr. Cage. And we would never know. But yeah, I'm kind of weird in that, like, I feel like my family didn't watch like any Nick Cage movies. Like, I was watching a bunch before going to see this recent movie, and my parents were like, yeah, like people from our generation like really like Nick Cage because like Moonstruck and Face Off and all this stuff, but I don't ever really remember them watching it a lot around the house. Like, I feel like the first one that I really remember watching for it being Nick Cage might be Ghost Rider, but I knew who he was before that, so I must have seen something with him in it before that and just don't remember. Lord of War. I definitely would have seen Lord of War and probably Gone in 60 Seconds.
Isn't he a family movie? Like an old... Remember him like in a trench coat or something, like in New York or something.
That sounds like Moonstruck.
Is that what that is?
Which Cher?
I don't know who the hell's in it, but I just remember...
I just feel like he's frequently in a trench coat, too.
That just might be his go-to attire.
Yeah.
Oh, look at him looking all suave in here.
Yeah. You got Moonstruck. He got... I think that would have to... That's the only one I can think of with the trench coat, if it's even a trench coat.
No, I was thinking of Family Man.
The family movie, Family Man.
Yeah, it's literally just him just sitting. It's not even a trench coat, I don't think, but he's just in a coat. I just remember the cover. I don't know why. It's just
weird.
It's just him standing there.
Yeah.
Coat.
Yeah, I don't actually think I've seen this.
I don't think I've seen it either. I just remember the cover.
I love that.
Just one of those things. I just think of a person. It's like my mind goes to like fucking Blockbuster, and it's like, what was over there? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's really it.
And today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jarritos, the all-natural, made with real sugar soda that comes in a glass bottle in a variety of delicious flavors like lime, mango, guava, and the ever-elusive watermelon. So if you want to figure out where to find Jarritos yourself, click the link in the description down below to use their store locator and stop by Walmart to pick up their Fiesta Pack so you can try all the flavors for yourself. Thanks again so much to Jarritos for sponsoring this podcast. So yeah, this is a pretty big career. Like, if you scroll through this, it doesn't seem possible that one person should have been able to be in this many movies, especially where it's not like background roles.
Right.
Where you're just like dummy in the background. Like, some of these are just quick roles. Like, I don't think he was in Snowden that much, but he was in it. Do you think that Nicolas Cage has an Academy Award?
Do I think Nicolas Cage has an Academy Award? I'm going to say no.
Yeah, do you think he's won?
Am I wrong?
He does.
He does.
Yep, for Leaving Las Vegas, all the way back in 1995.
Leaving Las Vegas. Don't know
Leaving
what
Las
the
Vegas.
Fuck that is.
So, and then like immediately after that, he was like, I need to do action movies now because like I'm going to get typecast. So he did The Rock and Con Air and Face Off like back to back to back.
That's so funny. Just
immediately after winning an Academy Award.
Like, fuck this. That's awesome.
That's why I respect him. He's always like, people say Nick Cage is always the same. And yeah, he's got like this personality to him, that this energy that always feels the same when he's on screen. But you can't say that he's not always trying to do new things.
Yeah, I just think he's just one of those dudes that just has such a powerful personality to him. I don't know. Even when he's talking, just not in a movie, it's like that's Nick Cage. It's just, I don't know. Nothing really changes.
It's just how he is.
Yeah.
Like he did a Reddit AMA.
He did.
But long ago. Yeah, like a couple weeks ago. And you could just tell, even if someone else was typing for him, it was him. Like you could tell, like just the inflection, how things were typed out, and this like real care you can tell he has for like film and like performance and all this stuff. And he doesn't really seem to feel much like, even if he's been to the point where it's like, maybe I was a little bit like eccentric doing this thing here, there's like no shame to where he's been. It's very fun because he's even at one point had established his own method of acting.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Like a school. So you know how there's method acting,
yes.
And then there's basically different schools of acting where people are like, I learn because I do this, like repetition, or by studying, or I have an acting method that's completely based around like method acting, where I literally just get into the character and I don't break character. Mm-hmm. He came up with something called Nouveau Shamanic. Because he had read a book about how like shamans and old communities and stuff would just put on different masks and act things out to try to come up with answers for like the universe and stuff. And he said he thinks that all actors of today are kind of like that they're basically this like offshot of these old shamans that used to for like pre-religion and stuff, and now they're putting on different masks. And I think he had specifically come up with it around the second Ghost Rider. And I was listening to the interview and it sounded like method acting, because he was like, no, I really just getting my head in the process that I'm actually this otherworldly being, that I am this like ancient, this thing, you know, like the Ghost Rider. So I would just show up on set and not talk to anybody and just get in. And I'm like, that just sounds like method acting, Nick Cage. But I think there are some subtle differences, and I'm really interested to see him like flesh out on that. But you're right. The dude is just like a dude. Yeah, you can tell he's acting, but it's still just who he is. Yeah,
it's just Nicolas Cage. Yeah, I don't know. When you were saying that, I was trying to piece it together in my head, and I was like, okay, so it's like, all right, so he's jumping into it. It's like faking it till you make it type deal. So like you really just get absorbed in that. And then when you said it just sounds like method acting, I was like, yeah, no, you're definitely right. That sounds just like method acting. Yeah. I was trying to get into his zone. I can't get it. No, I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, because I think it was less like getting into the character to like, I think method acting is kind of like the fake it till you become it. And like the shamanic is just acting it out until you feel like you entered the perspective of this character that you're supposed to be playing. Which it's a subtle difference, but I think there is technically a difference there versus like fake it till you make it, and then actually trying to like channel your way into a character that doesn't exist. It's like, it's like spiritual versus somebody like acting the part.
I was going to say one sounds like a more like not such a like steady path almost. Like method acting is like, yeah, I'm the Joker. I'm going to be the fucking Joker and I'm going to fucking give you dead squid legs and be fucking kooky and crazy. Yeah. The other one sounds like almost, this is going to sound weird, but it sounds almost like he's like turning off Nick Cage and he's like a blank slate and he's like, now I'm going to just find this character. Yeah. It sounds like the same shit, but like not at the same time.
It's a little, well, to be fair, the shit that Leto does is method acting. That's not method acting anymore. That's just being an
terrorism
asshole.
On set.
Yeah, literally. It kind of is. It's like committing crimes on set to the point that like they had to roll back on it for Suicide Squad. I remember they were like, yeah, he was sending used condoms and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it was just like, well, no, it was like an open condom packet. Like he didn't send a used, no, they'd never do that because obviously they're trying to avoid lawsuits. But if every actor is like, yeah, I opened a box and there was like a pig skull in it and like pig head and I got a dead rat for Margot Robbie. Like if everybody's saying it's there, you can't roll it back. Either way, he sucks. Go watch Morbius.
That is the bottom line, guys. Go watch Morbius.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there's some crazy Nick Cage stories here that I know nothing about.
Share with me. I might not know all of these. I looked more into like Nick Cage's crazy debt and like why he had to take so many movies.
Okay,
basically.
So that's kind of in the same realm. He woke up to a naked guy eating a fudgesicle at the foot of his bed. You familiar? No.
No. That's
a bad dream.
Absurd.
That's what that is.
That's not a good time. I want to know how the man got there. I do know that there's always weird celebrity stories in terms of like intruders. Like Miranda Cosgrove just had one about some guy who had been like burying stuff in her backyard before trying to shoot someone he thought was her and then killed himself. So Miranda Cosgrove had to move.
That sounds fucking horrible. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. I know, it's like, in the way that I just explained it is basically how she was explaining it on like a podcast or something, because it's like, if I think too hard on this,
yeah, this is.
I'm going to be in a very dark place. I'm not going to sleep.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm looking up this story with the fudgicle. So it was 2 a.m. I was living in Orange County at the time, and I was asleep with my wife. My 2-year-old at the time was in another room. I opened my eyes, and there was a naked man wearing my leather jacket eating a fudgicle in front of my bed. I know it sounds funny, but it was horrifying. Cage then sold the house and moved to the Bahamas. So we've got one island explanation. That's why Nick Cage got a fucking island.
Cross one off. There we go. That's explained.
Cross one off. That doesn't explain how it happened.
I was about to say, I love how there's no follow-up to that. It's just that bizarre fucking story. He's like, I got up and attacked him. I said, take off my jacket. There's nothing. It's just...
Yeah.
I know it sounds funny, but it was horrifying. Anyway,
it was horrifying.
Go watch Face Off in theaters next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. And that just screams Nick Cage that he would just drop some like insanity and people would be like, but like why? And he's like, well, because. Like, why do you want to crow with the tuxedo? Because, obviously.
So Nicolas Cage once almost bought a cave. Almost bought a cave. I want to clarify that.
Almost bought
to have sex with his wife in it, right? Which is romantic, of course, but he didn't pull the trigger. So this is from Nicholas right here. I got my diving certificate on the Great Barrier Reef. I explored the element of water. Love that. Air I didn't really get as far as I wanted to. I wanted to be a hang glider. It didn't happen. I don't know what the fuck I'm reading right now. But fire, I felt like Ghost Rider. I had explored the element of fire. Then I wanted to explore Earth. Okay, he's going through the elements. This is nice.
This sounds very Nick Cage.
Sounds crazy. Like... Cage was in the Black Hills of North Dakota during filming on National Treasure Book of Secrets when he got wind of a cave that was for sale. So he decided to check it out. As we've been told, he's an avid buyer of things. So according to Cage, the cave was filled with stalactites, milky quartz, and crystalline walls resembling Superman's Fortress of Solitude. And then this, of course, goes to, at the time I was married, referencing his previous marriage to Alice Kim, I thought I'd like to buy this and just go down in the bottom of the cave and get totally naked with my wife and drink. Sadly, he did not buy the cave. And that's the story of Nicolas Cage almost buying a cave. Just only him being in this disgusting...
I'm surprised he didn't buy
Why would you not?
Because, like, he was almost Superman.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was, I think it was Tim Burton. Tim Burton was making a Superman movie, and there was test photos of this horrific leather suit and his long hair. So it must have been around the time Con Air came out. Maybe not, though. What was it? When was it? Probably that would make sense, because it would probably be around the time the original Batman was coming out, too. Which would check out. But, like, they did a couple test pictures. Yeah, just look up Nick Cage Superman.
No.
And it's just obscene. They're like, we're going to give you some extra chest.
It just seems like his Halloween costume.
Yeah, exactly. And it just didn't happen, probably for the best. But the fact that he was ever cast in that role is shocking to me. I would never look at Nick Cage and think, yeah, the Man of Steel.
No, definitely not. I could not. The same way his personality is like super powerful, it's like, I can't put you in that role. No, you're just Nicolas Cage.
Exactly. That's what I mean. There's like he kind of works for Ghost Rider as a character, but like he really nailed Big Daddy as a character. And that's because Big Daddy is just eccentric. He's a dude who snapped so hard that he turned his daughter into a super murderer. So like it works for Nick Cage, but Superman, you'd never believe it. You'd see Superman on the news and then you see Clark Kent and instantly be like, this is the same motherfucker.
Like, so much sooner. No, this is...
Exactly.
No, these are hilarious photos. This is if you guys, they might be popping up on screen right now.
They should be popping them up on screen.
And they are phenomenal.
They better. Scrolled by another fun fact here that he was bailed out of jail by Dog the Bounty Hunter.
What was he in jail for? And also why?
Heavy intoxication.
Oh, let's
in New
go,
Orleans.
dude. My guy was on Bourbon Street.
Following a domestic dispute, not abuse, dispute with his ex-wife. So sounds like a lot of yelling. Okay. They have divorced. I don't know what their personal life is like. Speculate. Either way, we will not speculate. But I guess because the bounty hunter was working as a bail bondsman, he ponied up the $11,000 bond to get him out of jail. Because he's a truly dedicated fan of Mr. Cage.
So anybody can bail anybody out of jail. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What a weird system.
Yeah, you just have to have the money. It's really weird. It's a really, really weird system that, again, it's just like rich people can get out of most situations and like poor people can't. Like usually it's like a percentage. You only have to pay a percentage, I'm pretty sure. So like, I think you only have to pay 10%. So if your bail is set at like $100,000, you only have to pay like you only have to pay $10,000.
But then do you have to pay the rest like in an installment agreement or some shit?
Basically by the time you go through the courts, if you're found not guilty, I think you get you'd get like the 10% back. And if not, that would just get added to
okay. I didn't know the 10% thing.
So that's why some poor people, I think, and maybe that's only in Canada, and maybe that's not a thing anymore.
No, I believe that though, because I've heard just hearing random stories like fucking over time. It's just like, yeah, no, the bail was set at $50,000, and they bailed them out like within hours. It's like who just forked over 50 grand like that? I don't know. I've had that thought before, so it makes sense if it was at least 10%. Seems more doable. Yeah, it probably like jumps around from location to location. Like some places might only allow it like in cash. Some places might have like a different rule that it's like has to be up to a certain amount or something. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure like that 10% rule is like pretty standard, but could be wrong. I guess we could fact check. We do have the power of the internet. Or we could just let it loom in the air and let the audience believe it too.
Let it loom in the air and let us people answer the question for us down below. Let us know.
Comment section, guys. You know what to do.
I'm seeing one thing here that I'm actually surprised that he hasn't been accused of animal cruelty.
Why is that?
Shrooming with his cat. He was talking about how his cat just ate a bag of magic mushrooms, like catnip. And then Nick Cage, instead of being like, let's go to the vet, thought, well, heck, I'd better do it with him. You can't let a friend trip alone, I guess.
That was nice.
He says, it was a profound experience for me. They were just staring at each other for hours. That's really concerning to me. I guess they're fine. But he's like, he would stare at me and I had no doubt that he was my brother.
He just decided to be his cat's trip buddy?
Yeah, and honestly, reading some of these stories is why the movie, like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, doesn't come close to the legend that is Nick Cage, because nothing in that movie just will ever capture what this man just like casually finds himself saying on talk shows.
Cage spoke about being stalked when he filmed the 1999 Martin Scorsese movie Bringing Out the Dead. He says, I was stalked by a mime. Silent, but maybe deadly. There's no way that's a quote.
There's no way.
It's not a quote.
But it might be.
It's in quotations. I was being stalked by a mime. Silent, but maybe deadly. What? Somehow this mime would appear on this set and start doing strange things. I have no idea how it got past security. It's so weird. He's just one of those dudes like, can I call you out on this is bullshit? I don't think I can.
No, because usually there's always someone else involved that can like corroborate the story.
Exactly.
It's never just like I'm doing something stupid by myself. It's like I hung above a ceiling at a mall that I could have died at with Johnny Depp. It's like always with another person. Mm-hmm. I think the shrooms and the cat thing is the only thing I've read so far that I was all like, maybe not. Maybe not this one, but I have no reason to deny.
But also, why would he put that out there? Like, that's not even like a good story, really. No. It's a good story, but also like he get a lot of backlash for it.
Exactly.
So for him to share that, it's like that's genuine Nicolas Cage right there.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's insane.
This is so funny. Finally, the producers took some action, and I haven't seen the mime since. Apparently, Cage is a tremendous worrier. Maybe he's a real paranoid dude. You think that plays into some of the stories? That's what he says. A tremendous warrior. Which is warrior?
So worrier. There you go. You said it right. Weird. Because he just does so much. You think someone who would worry? Maybe it's just you do so much you don't have time to worry.
Maybe you just don't want to ever settle down and just stay in your own head. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, he says that when he's at home, he just likes to sit and read in quiet. So he's not all like that, but he's just clearly an eccentric dude. Like he's just one of those guys. It's like Jeff Goldblum is like a weird eccentric dude and he's got his own vibe. But then Nick Cage is just that like other level of like the way you act doesn't necessarily make sense for you to be an actor, but you are. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, like, what else could this person ever be?
Yeah, no, you're definitely meant to be in front of a camera doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even think we mentioned specifically, Nicolas Cage changed his name from Nicolas Coppola because he is the nephew of the Godfather director, Francis Ford Coppola, and changed it to avoid nepotism, obviously. Which I feel like we've been seeing less of lately. I feel like a lot of people have been keeping at least one of their famous parents' names and just riding that high.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But like, Nick was like, nah, I got made fun of, so I got rid of it. And I took the last name of Luke Cage, comic book character and composer, but still.
Do you think genuinely if he kept that name, we would not be talking about him today the way we are? Because he'd be the same exact fucking dude. But career-wise, who the fuck knows?
I almost think that with the last name like that, maybe they would have directed him away from certain roles. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I just Nick Cage, just like, it's snappy. You know? It's snappier. I don't know, because I almost feel like there's enough people who don't realize that he is in that family that I feel like having that association would have probably affected something. He never hid it. Like he would talk about it in interviews and mention how like when he was a kid, he literally was just like, I'll show you acting to his uncle. Didn't go anywhere, but like he was just that guy. Like I don't think he's ever not been that guy. But that is an interesting question.
I don't know. With a last name like that, like I just kind of want you in mobster movies, honestly. And I think you just fit in there. Like Nicholas. Yeah. Nicholas. How do you pronounce it specifically?
I think it's Coppola.
Coppola. Okay.
But I always say Coppola, but I think it's Coppola based on some of. Yeah, I could be wrong though. I could now have it backwards in my head. But
yeah, if I see Nicholas Coppola, like you're just gonna be like the fifth dude in Goodfellas or something, or you're gonna be in The Irishman or some shit. I don't know. Yeah. I don't see you in Ghost Rider starring Nicholas Coppola. Just I don't know. It's
true. Yeah, Nick Cage is. It's one of those names that's so actor heavy that they literally just. I don't know. Wait, actually, I could be wrong. Mortal Kombat has Johnny Cage. Did Johnny Cage take the name because it's like because Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat is an actor who's part of Mortal Kombat. So did they take it from Nick Cage, or did they also take it from Luke Cage, who was a fighter?
I don't know. I would have to.
They've made him?
I would have to figure out who's like Ed Boon's inspirations, because he kind of talks about a lot how you arrived at a lot of the names. I feel like there's no way it was Nicolas Cage, because the first Mortal Kombat came out like way too early for them to be like, yeah, Nicolas Cage, he's that dude.
Yeah, because like first Mortal Kombat, what was like 89 or 90?
In that zone though, so that's why like I don't think it's fucking Nicolas Cage. There's no way.
Apparently, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. That makes sense.
And they just went to Johnny Cage. Maybe it just sounded cool.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know where they got the name Cage fighting. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe because he's just more of like a traditional fighter in the games.
Yeah, I guess. I really thought it might have been some like weird combination there, but I guess not. There was no connection there. Oh well.
That was a nice shot. We appreciate the shots over here.
I thought so. I was like, is this a thing? But no, it is not.
You named his second child Kal-El, Superman's birth name. So did my old boss. That's funny. It's the only reason I care about that fact.
That's interesting.
He was a big Superman dude.
Yeah, every time somebody asked him about that, and he didn't say, oh, it's because it's Superman's name, even though he's like a huge comic book geek. He literally just said what it means, I think, in Hebrew. And he says it's a beautiful name. He never mentions voice of God. Kal-El means voice of God.
That's fire.
Yeah. And he's like, and I think it's a beautiful name. Did not mention that it's the name of Superman, which I really respect. Because like you could be like, well, that's potentially where you got the name, but for him, it's all like, no, I know what it means, and that's why I've named my child this.
Well, see, I mean, I kind of feel the same way with my daughter. My daughter's name is Raiden, and that was from Mortal Kombat. That's how I thought of the name, obviously, but I love Raiden because he's the fucking thunder god, and he's the
dope.
big bad motherfucker in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
He's not to be fucked with. So I love what Raiden stands for in general. So when obviously people will pick up on the name like, oh, it's from Mortal Kombat. And it's like, yeah, but like she's like the thunder goddess, so like, it's like cool.
I love that.
So I just I like to describe it in that way. So I kind of feel that, honestly.
I get it. Yeah, no,
Instead
I get
of just
that.
saying like, oh, I got it from Superman. It's like, yeah, but do you know voice of God? Like,
yeah, voice of
crazy.
God. That's
a way
cooler
cooler explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. Versus like the little Bella Edwards and Alice's out there, or the Khaleesi's. It's like, there's nothing else this could possibly be. So, like, you're just fucked. Oh, that's cute, though. Do you, like, give her a nickname? Like, do you call her, like, Ray for short, or?
No, I don't, because I love the name Raiden, personally. So I don't like to... Like, if it came naturally, for sure, right? But, some people have gotten nicknames for her, like, maybe just, like, Ray. Just, like, little random
Ray.
Cute nicknames like that. But me, it's like, nah, I'm going to always call you Raiden. You're Raiden, because I love that fucking name. Call you Raiden.
I like that. That's really cute. That's awesome. So do you think that like Nick Cage is the type of person, do you think it was too early to have a Nick Cage movie where Nick Cage plays an offshot of Nick Cage? Or do you think that like the minimal amount of his life we've gone over today has made him worthy of this?
I think definitely. I think if the movie you're explaining to me, I think if anybody's worthy of that, there aren't that many, right? But he's just that dude. He's that dude, and no one would ever question that this movie came out.
Yeah.
I think he's more than worthy of it.
Yeah, I agree. When I saw because it was at South by Southwest in Texas, and when you just saw all like the different movies popping up, when that one did, it was like, it made perfect sense. Like there was nothing in my head being like, why the hell is somebody making a Nick Cage movie where Nick Cage is being Nick Cage? And if anything, I'm like, this isn't enough. This isn't even enough Nick Cage. It needs to be more Nick Cage after watching it. So I think there is not a person more worthy of this treatment.
No, I'm with you. Even when you just pretended to say that protest just now, it didn't sound natural. So, no, he's that dude.
He's that dude.
He's that dude. Shout out Nick Cage, man. Shout out Nick Cage. There will be no s'more / tent on fire scale here, because Nick Cage is just Nick Cage. He's not worthy. He's not fucking belittled to some shitty scale.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
just that dude.
He's all over the place. Like, watch him in like Kick-Ass, watch him in like Face Off, and then watch him in Pig, and you'll just have widely different experiences of his range. Watch him in Mandy, just insanity. Just insanity. Well, I think that is going to do it for today's episode of Camp Counselors. We can't really give it a score, but I will give it a 10 out of 10 tasty enjoyment for the career of Nicolas Cage. Even when you hate it, it's still tasty to some degree. But make sure that you follow More Butter on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you all so much for listening to the Camp Counselors podcast. And as always, make sure to butter your popcorn.
See you guys.